they made a video about me, and they said, this is the guy that you all are seeing in these memes, but this is who's playing him, and he plays all these other characters as well. And so then my YouTube channel just like blew up overnight, just blew up.
So this podcast, it's called How'd You Do It? Because we generally talk to a lot of YouTubers and creators on basically how they cut through the noise and how they turned their hobby into their full-time job.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this a while now, and I've talked to a lot of people. I don't think I've talked to anyone who's been at it as long as you have, and also who didn't see success for as long as you have. I mean, it was what, 10 years before things really sort of took off?
10 years. Yeah. And that was, it was a very long 10 years. And it was a very scary 10 years because I was working horrible jobs back to back to back. And I was never at any job for a short amount of time either. Like I was at each job for at least 3 years.
Right.
I was at a hotel for 6 years. I was working at a law firm for 3 years. It was just a horrible time in my life. And you start to wonder, because I dropped out of college, and it's like you start to wonder, like, okay, I'm feeling too old to go back to college. I've been doing this YouTube thing for about 10 years. If it's not going to happen now, it would have happened already.
Sure.
Right? So it was just like, I mean, we still kept making the videos because they were fun. We still had fun making, my friends and I would always make videos, but it was never expected to be recognized at this level because it's just a lot of the comedy is so grotesque, and you don't see that expanding rapidly, And so, yeah. I've diverged so far. What was the original question?
I mean, it wasn't really a question. It was sort of just a statement that you've been at it for 10 years. So what was the, I mean, I really liked hearing, and you could obviously explain it better than me, but just hearing about how the Fine brothers sort of got involved and you sort of finally got credit for what you did. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so the characters got really big on Vine because my brand of comedy is I like stuff that's really quick and just sort of, you don't need much context to laugh at many of the punchlines in the videos. And so a lot of the videos would make great Vines. People would take them and throw them on Vine because they made great 6-second clips because you didn't need the context to get someone getting injured or swearing or whatever the one-liner was. Right, or pooping, whatever kind of bodily fluid you wish. But so the characters were getting big on Vine and no one knew who was playing them, or if anyone was playing them. Some people thought they were different people. No one realized it was the same actor. And so, you can imagine how frustrating that was just to like see sort of the characters sort of take off and be quoted and be, turned into memes, and you'd just be on Instagram and you'd see yourself pop up, but no one would know who you were.
Right.
So it was kind of like I'd have to comment to be like, that's me in the video. And then a lot of those videos that went viral, I was, much heavier. I was about almost 100 pounds heavier.
Really?
Yeah. And so I didn't look like a lot of the videos that went viral, and so a lot of people didn't believe me. And so the Fine brothers eventually got wind of this, and they were like, "Oh, this is a big like." They wanted to. I don't know what their goal. I mean, it felt like it. They did not have to do what they did, and I was very like I wouldn't be here today if they didn't. But yeah, they just totally. They made a video. At the time, they had about 14 million followers. And they made a video about me, and they said, this is the guy that you all are seeing in these memes, but this is who's playing him, and he plays all these other characters as well. And so then my YouTube channel just like blew up overnight, just blew up. And it was insane. I woke up and I had a whole new drive. And I called up my cameraman, Gabriel, who I met at the law firm. We were
and you
coworkers.
Were still there at the time?
Yeah, I was still at the law firm.
Right.
And I called him up that morning and I said, we're calling in sick to work. We're going to make another video, and we're going to make one every week. And we're going to we're going to ride this wave because I don't want to wait for this to die down.
Yeah.
If anything, in social media, stardom is very temporary. In terms of like, okay, someone got really big off of this project or off this single. It's like, okay, how long can you maintain that relevance?
Yeah.
And so I knew that like, okay, our channel's really growing right now. At least once a week, we need to just now start pumping out content. So we did, and we did ride the wave, and it rode and I think by February we hit 1 million subscribers.
What were you on before the day before the Fine Brothers video came out?
We were about 50,000 subscribers.
Right.
So it was still a good, healthy number, especially then. I mean, as the years go by, 50,000, just any amount gets less and less impressive, as more and more, kids are making YouTube accounts, and, the older generation's phasing out, the newer generation's coming in, and just YouTube's growing. 50,000 followers then was a bit more than, that was only 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty big at the time, but even then I thought, like, wow, I'm surprised we've got this far. 50,000 for this shit. And so for it to see it blow up, and then it just kind of never did, and it never died down. I mean, the more content we pump out, we see it grow more, but for the most part, it's been just steadily inclining.
And so when all these Fine Brothers fans like eventually crossed over and checked out your stuff, I mean, you would have had a catalog of like 10 years or so of stuff for people just to go crazy on. It would have been like binge watching a Netflix series.
Yeah, 10 exactly. That's what people did, and it was very inspiring, because they were describing stories of how they watch the content, and it's really why I started doing it in the first place. When I was younger, like when I was 18, 19 years old, I would go to parties and I would see people gather around like the TV and watch clips from like The Office or Family Guy, and I realized that The Office and Family Guy are snackable content. It's snackable content. Mm-hmm. Like, it's stuff that, like, you don't need to know what episode you're watching or what part of the episode you're watching with shows like that. That's why they made such great party shows. People just leave them on in the background,
right,
and people laugh. And I remember thinking, I want to be the source of entertainment like that. Like, I want to be what people gather around. And so it's cool that, like, when the channel when it blew up and you hear stories of how people watch it, they talk about that. Like, we had it on TV, and like we had the family over and we were watching it, or we had friends over and we were like gathered around watching this video. And it's just kind of cool knowing that I don't know, just 10 years ago, this idea that I wanted to achieve, like, I finally, I'm that person they're watching on, and and so, yeah, it's very surreal. It still largely doesn't feel like it's happened.
Yeah.
Like, none of this feels like it's happened, that I'm even up here talking to you.
Yeah.
Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
But
staying humble about it.